Okay, can anyone see that? Is that visible?
Yeah, we can say it.
Excellent, great stuff. Okay, so um, my name is Joseph. I met a couple of you in the breakout room. I'm a project support officer at TrustLinks, fairly recent addition. Um, I worked on the Growing Together evaluation alongside Katrina and a few other members of staff, Gareth as well. Um, Katrina and myself are going to give you a short presentation about Growing Together itself and the evaluation that we did, what we found. So I think that's, oh, and if you have any questions that you don't get to ask during the conference, our emails are on the screen now. It's just our first names at trustlinks.org. We'd be more than happy to respond to any of those later on. So let's begin. So for those of you that don't know, Growing Together is a community garden project set up for the purpose of improving mental health and well-being for vulnerable and disadvantaged people. It's mainly for those with mental health problems or difficulties, but it's open to anyone. And you can self-refer. So if you're having a rough time, struggling with COVID, perhaps you can self-refer and come along. Typically, members attend a couple of times a week, and prior to COVID, this could be for a full day, but obviously during the pandemic, we've had to change things a little. After a meeting with a garden coordinator, members would discuss with the staff and each other about what sort of work is suitable to take on for that day. A large range of horticultural tasks are undertaken, from mowing grass, maintenance, planting seeds, vegetable sales, and so on. Members have structured breaks together, and at lunchtimes they can cook together using produce that they've grown themselves, and then they eat together too. And we feel that being able to bond and socialize over breaks, a cup of tea, some food, is just as important as any other aspect of growing together, because it gives members a chance to connect with each other, offload, make friends, form relationships, and really develop that social capital that's quite a core part of growing together. Growing Together has been around for 20 years now, since it was founded in 2000. And in the past decade, it's been replicated 3 times in Tubernes, Thundersley, and Rochford. And the gardens are managed as a long-term sustainable resource. So at Westcliff, we've got 2 different types of solar panels, and at the tail end of last year, they installed an air source heat pump, which is lovely. And the building at Rochford is Passive House certified, so it's very green, very environmentally friendly. So some of the key features of Growing Together, and kind of the way we sort of structure the project and what we build around. Number one is person-centered. So everything that we do, we try and make sure that the members are the heart of it. And this closely ties in with co-production, which is the idea that we work with our members to run the gardens and the project, and they have a lot of involvement in terms of the decision making. So from what daily tasks will be done to what will be coming in the future and how that will be delivered, we rely on them to talk to us about everything. We're an inclusive safe space for everyone. So Growing Together, as I said before, is open to anyone. You don't have to be suffering with anything diagnosed or anything like that to come along. You can self-refer. And after an initial assessment, we identify the best way for you to kind of take part, engage, and get the most out of any snags you might have as well. And another important one, or another 2 important ones, I should say, are our transformative approach. So I think a really great part of the Growing Together project is that we try and shift the identity of our members from being a patient or a service user to a team member or a gardener, where members are valued for the strengths they bring to the team and what they can contribute, and not just someone that's needs help or is a victim in some circumstances. And then the other one there is social capital and the other activities we offer. So we do a lot of music groups, creative writing, nature workshops, anything like that. And this is all dependent on the skills and interests of members and staff. So it really ranges a lot. And additionally, we have the Roots to Work scheme, which seeks to help those that have been unemployed for a while or out of work, to kind of guide them back into work and support them in any way they need. So in terms of why does it work, we tend to follow a social therapeutic horticulture, which Joe Sempeck in 2008 collated a sort of as a group of characteristics really. And he stressed that social therapeutic horticulture isn't just a random collection of outdoor activities, but it provides a coherence and a structure and a routine within the framework of the natural environment. Um, he also said that the social interactions and sense of community are just as important in promoting recovery and well-being, as well as attuning with nature and conducting gardening activities, hence the social part of therapeutic horticulture. Um, some of the key attributes he came up with were a therapeutic intent and practice. So the main goal of the garden project is to promote mental and physical well-being, and this is through a recognized practice, recognized by health professionals and researchers. Location. So we try and, whilst the geographic location tends to be what keeps members at specific gardens, because obviously it's easier to get to the one that you're closest to. The added benefit is that you form a home-like bond when you keep coming to the same place. And I think this is especially beneficial to the members we have that have troubled home lives or difficult lives outside of coming to the garden. It gives them a safe space to keep coming back to and form a connection with in that sense. And then, as I've said before, the social currency community. So carrying out tasks as a team, preparing meals together, all that kind of thing serves to build a community and increase social skills, reduce isolation, this kind of thing. And then co-production, again, I've talked about that before, but I think co-production is a really good thing that differentiates our project and green social prescribing from a lot of other interventions, because members aren't just being provided a service, you know, they're part of something. They can contribute to the running and how it operates and what happens in general. So they're less of a passive component and very much an active part of the project. So in terms of evidence in literature, spending time in nature and green spaces has long been proven to aid mental well-being. In our written evaluation, we covered a few papers, but there's many more. I'm sure there's hundreds, if not thousands, of studies on this phenomenon. A literature review by Clatworthy and a group of other researchers in 2013 found that there needed to be a little bit more high quality research on gardening as a mental health intervention. They found that there were some studies, but they weren't quite up to par, and more, you know, sort of solid academic work was needed. But what they did find was that gardening as a mental health intervention did have a lot of strengths and had a lot of positive effects. So it has been used successfully in reducing depression severity, reducing brooding, increasing attention capacity, reducing symptoms of anxiety, as well as in counselling those bereaved from suicide and for those suffering with dementia. So it's quite a versatile. Growing Together is designed to meet the needs of adults with mental health problems and mild learning disabilities in the Southend, Castle Point and Shoebury areas. The gardens have been replicated fairly strategically, as these areas display significantly higher rates of mental and psychotic disorders, poverty, physical inactivity, when compared nationally or regionally. So a mental health needs assessment for Southend carried out in, I think this one was 2015, yeah, said that only a minority of people with mental health conditions in Southend receive any kind of treatment, while even fewer receive interventions to prevent mental health conditions or promote well-being. And the report goes on to say that a gap in provisions like that comes with a set of local impacts and economic costs, both in the short and long term. And as you can see on the screen there, the rate is about 1.2% higher in Southend versus the nation of percentage of people suffering from a mental health condition. So there's a fairly substantial need in Southend for support for those affected by mental health disorders. And then furthermore, the Social Market Foundation in 2017 conducted a research paper, and they found that coastal communities are some of the most deprived in the UK. And then a follow-up study was done again in 2019, and this gap was the gap between coastal communities and inland towns and things like this was just found to have gotten bigger. So the problem is worsening still for places like Southend and Rochford that are right on the coastline. Just before I move on, all of these studies that I'm talking about now are referenced in the research paper in the evaluation. So if you do want to read more or double check that what I'm saying is true, we've got the references in the bottom of the evaluation. So yes, the Southend Joint Strategic Needs Assessment in 2017 found that Southend has a rate of working age adults claiming out of work benefits 2% higher than the national average. So we've got a combination of a high percentage of sufferers, a high rate of economic deprivation, and then a lot of the population, or higher than the national average, is claiming out of work benefits. And as I'm sure many people know, that poverty and life stresses exacerbate symptoms of mental health conditions. There is a fair amount of need for extra interventions in this area, especially when you consider that with all these sufferers, there is a lot of strain on current services. There's a lot of waiting times, high boundaries of access. So if you have to wait a long time to get treatment, your problems may just get worse. So throughout the rest of the presentation, Katrina is going to talk a lot about well-being. So we thought we'd just give you a quick definition as to how we are defining well-being. So we're defining it as how satisfied we are with our lives, our sense of what we're doing is, whether or not what we're doing is worthwhile, our everyday emotions and day-to-day experiences, and then our wider mental well-being. So our if we suffer from or anxiety, if we worry, things like that. For well-being to be possible, basic needs must be met. So water, shelter, food, the very basics. Individuals must have a sense of purpose, and they must also be able to feel they can achieve personal goals, so like career goals, relationship goals, whatever they define. And then lastly, participating in society, so feeling that you contribute to the wider world is a fairly important aspect. Additionally, there are some things that facilitate and enhance well-being. So personal relationships, if you've got a strong supportive partner, or if you've got a good friend group, attractive environment, if the place you live is appealing, fulfilling occupation, whether your job is worthwhile and rewarding. Obviously, financial security and good health are fairly self-explanatory, and then strong communities as well, when you've got good peer support and social links. Yeah, so that's everything that I have there. I think I'm handing over to Katrina now, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready, thank you.
Brilliant.
So before I go into the details of the evaluation, just going to go over what happens when the members first come to us. So when we first receive a referral and they first come to one of the sites, we do an initial assessment with them where the members are asked to reflect on their thoughts and feelings from the past 2 weeks. And this measures their overall mental well-being, their self-esteem and their mindfulness levels. Now, mindfulness is important to measure because the ability to focus on the present and non-judgmentally accept their thoughts and feelings helps to improve mental health and well-being. So whilst it's a bit of a buzzword and some people get a bit confused with the definition, it's a really important thing for us to measure. Then after they've been attending the site for 6 months, they then meet with their key worker and discuss their progress and their general well-being and their thoughts and feelings to see if they can do anything to change, if there's any issues they're having or anything like that, and just to chart their progress. And so it's this data that we have used to evaluate the effectiveness of the project. If you want to look at the scales, they are in the methodology section in the Growing Together evaluation. I didn't want to go into too much detail because there's quite a few and they're quite complicated if you've not got a statistical kind of mind. And so at the moment we have 386 active members across our sites. 65% of the members are male, 34% are female, and 1% identify as other. We cover quite a broad age range at the moment, with 90% of our members being between the ages of 22 and 64. So it is really something that a lot of people do access. Because we cover so many mental health issues and learning disabilities, there is a very broad spectrum. But our most prominent mental illnesses of members are epilepsy, autism, depression and anxiety together, not separate things, bipolar disorder and PTSD. Next slide, please. One of the key outcomes of the evaluation is that members showed improved and sustained levels of wellbeing and mental health. So this graph shows their general wellbeing scores, and it shows that it has a long-lasting impact as each of these bars are 6 months apart from each other. So for a lot of members, we have several years worth of data which shows the positive impact of the Growing Together project on them. So within the first 6 months, there is a 14% increase in our members' wellbeing, which brings it above the national UK adult average, which is shown on your right-hand bar of 23.63. Now the SWEMS one, just a little bit of detail, it measures mental and emotional wellbeing as well as psychological functioning. So it's a really good, broad, general wellbeing scale we use. In addition, over half of our members experienced a meaningful positive change in their score within the first 6 months. So it is a wide-reaching impact of attending the project that it has on members' wellbeing. Next slide, please. So another key outcome is that members experience improved confidence and self-esteem. So there is a significant increase in members feeling that they have good self-esteem after 6 months. And this brings it to being 2/3 of our members experiencing this feeling. In addition, all of the statements that we ask members that measure self-esteem show a minimum of a 12% increase. So it really is, not just a marginal increase in members feeling that way, it really does help a lot of them. This links to well-being and it helps increase it because research shows that higher self-esteem leads to increased life satisfaction. And in addition, improved confidence means that members feel more able to achieve their important personal goals, which again helps their overall well-being. Thirdly, our evaluation showed that members experience improved social connections and engagement following attending Growing Together. There is a significant increase in members feeling close to other people and feeling part of a community. And if you chat to any of our members, really, whether it's in a formal setting or not, one of the most commonly said things is the community and family feel like that gets created when they're at the sites. And as Joseph said, this is why we keep them or try and keep them at the same site, because it does allow them to feel like they're home and they're safe, and it is a very common thing to do. This is encapsulated by Phil, who's shown on the screen, when he said that he comes to Growing Together to talk to people, to socialise, to make friends and feel happier. And so improved social connections and engagement links to wellbeing, because wellbeing is enhanced by their supportive relationships and these strong inclusive communities. And it helps our members to feel that they're able to participate in society that, when it's full of stigma, they often feel ostracised. And so having this supportiveness helps them feel able to re-engage again. Fourthly, our members also exhibit better levels of physical fitness after attending Growing Together projects. And this helps their overall well-being because a physically healthy body helps get a healthier mind, and you get the endorphin rush when you do exercise and you're able to go out for a walk more often or maybe go for a run or something. So it just helps with your overall state of mind. Fifthly, our members also exhibit an increase in the opportunity and motivation to progress to training, employment and volunteering. Just after 6 months of attending our projects, 2/3 of our members felt that they were progressing towards paid employment and volunteering, and 83% felt that they were learning new skills. Well, this is really important, and it's said very well by one of our members who said that it went from being like a hobby to something she wanted to learn to the possibility of doing it as a job in the future. And so this really does help increase their well-being because, as Joseph mentioned, well-being is enhanced by a rewarding occupation. It allows them to have structure and meaning to their lives. In addition, obviously, occupations help decrease financial insecurity. And as we all know, financial insecurity comes with a large amount of stress for all of us, really. As a result of all of these outcomes, there is a reduced demand on the other health and social care services, which is really important. over half of our members feel less dependent on other people and services after just 6 months, and there is a significant increase in members paying attention to how their emotions affect their thoughts and behaviours. Now, this is really important because that encourages self-awareness of our members, and so they're more able to understand and recognise their triggers, and that allows them to manage their illnesses without relying on these costly services. In addition, all of the statements that we measure, those with the greatest change within the first 6 months, are all key to promoting less reliance on these services. Next slide, please. Of course, we can't talk about the impact of growing together on our members without talking about the impact that COVID has had on everyone. So we've identified some additional needs as a result of the pandemic, which are shown in order of prevalence on the slide. So as of the end of January of this year, 38% of our members have experienced anxiety at some point, 36% have experienced stress, and 34% have experienced loneliness and isolation. I would say luckily that less than 11% have experienced the rest of the issues, but it is obviously still very heartbreaking that 11% of our members have experienced things like financial benefit issues, or lack of food, or bereavement, or COVID symptoms. However, we have seen an overall dip in our members' well-being, but most keyly is that they haven't regressed to their original level of well-being when they first came to the project. Our data has shown that staying with Growing Together has prevented a further 7% decrease in self-esteem and a further 10% decrease in mindfulness levels. So this sort of indicates that there is a sustained impact of Growing Together on members, and suggests that it's helped equip them to deal with difficult situations. So actually their SWEM scores of their general overall wellbeing actually remained stable throughout the pandemic. They maintained that initial 40% increase and stayed above the UK national adult average. So therefore this to us suggests that there has been a temporary dip in their wellbeing, and that this is recovered by re-engaging with our services. And this was really nicely said and shown by Crystal, who said that the second lockdown hasn't affected her as much because she's been able to come to our sites and unwind. Sadly, we can't say with great certainty that these effects are temporary and that we have been able to prevent a full regression back to their initial level of well-being until we're out of the pandemic and examine all of the data. But at the moment, the effects are looking really promising for us. Next slide, please. So now that was a lot of numbers and statistics. So these are just some of the 3 really key results that we found from our evaluation. So again, over half of our members have experienced a meaningful positive change after 6 months of attending the project, which has brought their wellbeing well above the national UK adult average, and that this improvement is sustained with continued engagement with therapeutic or Growing Together projects. Secondly, members are less dependent on secondary healthcare services and reduced their demand on other health and social care services. So this is important more now so than ever because of the pandemic and the strain that's putting on the healthcare system, in addition to the increasing number of the general population who are also experiencing mental health issues and will need help in the future. And thirdly, whilst there has been a decrease in wellbeing, this is in general in line with the general population experiencing a decrease in their wellbeing. And the most important thing is that we haven't seen them return to their initial baseline level of wellbeing, which suggests that the engagement with Growing Together has limited and mitigated the pandemic's effect on their wellbeing. So whilst all of this data is really lovely, of course, case studies bring our data to life better than I could probably ever say them to you. So I'm going to hand over to our Wellbeing Services Manager, Gareth, and our member, Louise, who's going to give an insight into her story and help bring a personal message to what it means to our members to attend.
So I can still see Katrina on screen, but you're not missing anything by not being able to see me. Oh, there we are. Hello. Right. Hello, I'm Gareth. I'm a Wellbeing Services Manager, and thanks for the introduction there, Katrina. As Katrina said, I'm going to be having a conversation with Louise, one of our members who's been coming to us for some time, just to bring the data that we just had a look at to life, really. So, Louise, could you tell us how you first became involved with Growing Together?
It was through therapy at, I think it was the Taylor Centre at the time, and I didn't know anything about the little corner allotment down Fairfax Drive at all. I was like, oh, is there is there an allotment down there? And I got told about it, and I got asked by my psychiatrist if I can go there, and I did. And yeah, I've been there ever since, really. And that was like 7 years ago. But before going to Growing Together, it was a bit difficult because I lost my daughter before going to Growing Together. So I had that to contend with, plus my my depression and anxiety on top of that. And a few times I thought, what's the point of being here? But then I got told by other people, think of Sarah Lou, think of yourself. You're not going to do any, like, you're going to do damage to more people than yourself in that type of way. But ever since I've been coming here, I have grown, haha. But yeah, it's made me more open to things that can be available for certain people, like people with mental health issues. And I've, since going there, I've not been in that dark place as often as I was a few years ago, like good few years ago. But now I love going there. I love annoying the staff. It's fun. But you get to, I wasn't into gardening at first. So I thought, oh, what am I doing here? But as soon as I got in the pond, I was like, I'm happy. I'm happy getting muddy as hell. I'm happy helping people. And it seems to open my eyes that it's sort of not my calling as such, but I don't know, it's something that I enjoy doing. And I don't think I want to do anything else really now I've done this. Like I've done a few odd jobs here and there, like a butcher. But that's a random job. And spraying cars for Fords, that's another weird thing. But now I enjoy what my nan used to enjoy, and that's growing your own stuff, and it makes you feel healthier when you've grown your own stuff and tasted it. It's different. But yeah, it was really dark before I came to Growing Together, and since I've been here, I've, as you call it, sunflowered. I've grown a little bit.
Definitely bloomed. So you say you did have no sort of previous experience with gardening or anything beforehand. Is it that the physical activity and everything sort of helped you with that, or is it a mixture of everything else, that sort of connection with other people?
Yeah, it was like everything in one hit, really. Like you've got to do a bit of gardening, socialise, and I think the two together is a good thing. Like, because you get to meet people who've got different circumstances than you, different disabilities and abilities, and it just opened my eyes that there's help for everyone, kind of thing. But yeah, I don't think you're going to get rid of me that easily.
Wouldn't want to. Definitely wouldn't want to. No, thank you very much.
Growing in the walls.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was just keeping an eye on the comments as well, Louise. I've got a lot of people saying how inspirational you are, and thank you for sharing your story. So,
You're welcome.
no, very, very grateful for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.